Hello my friends, welcome to another exciting episode in our Photoshop design series. In this video I'm going to be showing you and walking you through the process of how I created this flyer inside of Photoshop. Alright, so if you've not subscribed to my channel, I think now is the best time to do that, and don't forget to turn on the post notification so you miss any videos I'll be dropping after this time around. Without having to say much, let's get started. Okay, so like we've done in previous video, the first thing you need to do is click on file and click on new, and you will be shown this session, right? So just come up here and where it says details, just put in name here. So for mine it's going to be new month flyer like this. The width and the height stays at 5 and 5 respectively, resolution 300, and click on create like this, right? Great. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is define what you want to use as your background, right? So as in previous videos I've discussed before, I use my images that I want to use in the composition to get my background color. As in this case, by the way, I got this picture from, or these pictures from freepik.com. So you can get your pictures, your PNG images, and also remove backgrounds from freepik.com. Yes, freepik.com. Alright, so I'm just going to bring in my image, so because I'm just going to use that. You can see I've removed the background for this one here. I'm just going to drag and drop inside here like this, and yes, this is going to be the first image for me. Great. Okay, so with this image, basically what I want to just do is just a few things. I'm just going to my adjustments, go to filter, go to camera raw filter, right? And what I want to do is just basic. So this is what I would do here. So I'm just going to come up to the texture and bump it up. You can use my settings and increase the clarity, and I'm also going to increase the vibrance so it pops more like this. And when I'm done, I'm just going to click OK like this. Okay, so when you're done with that, like I said, click OK. And of course, if you zoom closely, you would see that changes have been made, right? Okay, so to define the background, I'm just going to sample colors from the image itself. So I'm just going to go to solid color, and I'm going to click OK like this. I'm going to hide this, click on this to hide this, double click on this thumbnail, and I'm just going to come here and select any color from this part here like this. Not too dark and not too light. I'm just going to be in between. I think this is nice. So I'm just going to drag this down here and turn it on. Voila. So that's our background, right? So I can move this image down here like this, and also resize it the way I want it to be. So Ctrl T and then just resize it the way you want it to be. Adjust and resize basically. Okay, so I think this is nice. I might just resize this later on, but I'm just going to come down to this layer here and create a new layer right above it like this. Make sure your foreground color is set to this. This is the color code, right? And click OK. So what you want to do is go over to your brush. As usual, make sure you're using your soft light pressure opacity brush, and you can increase the size here. I'm doing it manually with my bracket key. So increase it, make sure the brush is bigger than the head like this, and double once, and again. So I'm doing this twice. So I'm just going to go back to my selection to click on this, and I think I'm still going to leave this at normal, right? I'm not changing the blend mode, so I'm just going to set it to normal like this, right? And I'm going to select the background. I'm going to add another background to it, but this time it's going to be different. I'm going to select the darker parts of, yeah, so I'm just going to use this, and I'm going to go over to, okay, before I do that, let me right click and convert to smart object, go to filter and go to noise and click on add noise. Now this shouldn't be too much, just make it average. So I'm just going to still reduce this and bring this here, click OK, right? And you might want to change the blend mode too. So I'm just going to click on the blend mode and select soft light. I think this works for me. So what I might just do with this is okay, soft light works. I'm just going to add more noise to it. Click on the noise and just add more noise so it's pronounced, right, like this. And make sure you're not doing too much, right? And there you go, right? Okay, so we've gone past this stage, so let's move on to the next thing that we need to do. So right about now, I'm just going to click on this layer. Make sure you're on the right layer. It's very, very important. And I'm just going to drag this and drop inside like this, right? And of course I want to make this bigger, so I'll just blow it up like this. I'm just going to blow it up, keep blowing it up the way I want it to be, and adjust to the right or the left as I want it. Click enter when you're done. And what I want to do is, I don't want all these areas to show, so I'm going to mask this out. Select my brush, my flow is set to 100, and I'm just going to clean off these areas like this. And I'm just going to stylishly come to the edge and erase the edge like this. You can see where my brush is. Come to the edge like this and erase the edge like this, right? You can see I have a nice blend. So I'm just going to change this from normal to screen, and I'm going to reduce the opacity like this, right? Great, there you go. I'm just going to keep this here. I think this is nice. I'm just going to work with those two lights. I'm okay with that. Okay, so great. So let's move on to the next thing. So let's work on the image itself, or better still, let me do something else. It's actually a gradual process, right? So what you want to do now is go over to your source file and bring in the next resource, which is this image right here. So of course, drag and drop. So just click to drag and drop, right? And drop inside here like this. I want to bring this down, so I'll just adjust it to the position that I want it to be. Of course, I would increase, and if it's needed, I would also skew and rotate it just the way it needs to be, right? So I'm just going to expand it like this. I'm holding down shift to do that, and bringing this down here like this. And I'm just, okay, this is not going to be nice. Bring it downwards, hold down, okay, reduce the size like this, and I just need some space up and down. I don't want an enclosed space everywhere, so hold down shift to adjust that and bring this up like this. Remember, I need to also bring in my text, so I need a place for that to settle in. All right, so I'm just going to position this here. When I'm done, I'm going to go to filter, go to blur, and go to Gaussian blur like this. And make sure you're not overdoing. This is just perfect. Make sure you're not doing something like this. This is being too much, right? Let's stay realistic, and click OK when you're done like this, right? Okay, so now that that's out of the way, I want to increase this one and readjust it. So I'm just going to move it to this part here, while I still increase it just a bit. Move it to this part again, so it aligns well with that white cloth that I brought inside, right? now that that's out of the way, let's go to the next. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in the next image. You can see I've removed the background for this also. So basically what I'm just going to do is also drag in and drop in, right? So click and select it to drag and then drop inside here like this, right? So with this inside here, I'm just going to right click and I want to flip this. I don't want her facing this direction. So what I do, right click and click on flip horizontal, so she's facing this part here. So I'm just going to bring this down here like this, and I think I'm okay with this position she is currently, right? So I'm just going to leave it here this way. Great. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's work on this guy here, right here. So to make it more realistic and to give it the feel of it's where it's supposed to be, before then let me bring in my text. Let me just have that so I can gauge where and when not to have things. So I'm just going to put this here. I think this is fine here, this is okay here, but I'm just going to place it, just drag down here like this and place it behind this image like this. Okay, great. And just going to move in place, right? So I'm working on this image, right? So make sure your foreground color is set to this color, and I'm just going to apply this here. I'm going to start with the lighting first because I need that to guide me through what I want to do. So this is the part where you want to pay close attention to. So create another one again, but this time I'm going to change the blend mode to screen. Let me see what screen actually does. I'm guessing this would not work out well. So select the brush, and I'm just going to, okay, so screen, I'm going to change it from screen to overlay, right? Overlay just works best for me, right? Great. Okay. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's begin to work on the image. Let's apply some lighting effects to this whole thing. Let's just get this composition excited, right? So the first thing I like to do is, let me see. Okay, so what I will start with him first. So go ahead and create a solid color, right? Make sure you're using the foreground color, you're using that color code, which is this. You can hide this first, and let me double click. That's the color code. In case you can actually select it, hide that, and select any one of your choice, but I chose to use this color code. So you can use the same color code as mine too, or you can select using the eyedropper too. So this is the color code again, right? Pay closer attention to this part. So I'm just going to unhide this, and I'm just going to right click and click on create clipping mask, right, like this, and I'm going to change the blend mode to overlay like this, right? So what this done is applying everything to the whole image. You don't want that. Click on the mask and press Ctrl I to invert it. So now we are just going to manually apply what we have with our brush. So select the brush, make sure your foreground color is set to white, right? Because if not, this is what you're going to get. Nothing's going to happen. So come here and click on this arrow, revert it to white, and as soon as you do that, make sure you are doing this, just do it the right way. Make sure you are not doing too much, right? So gradually when you do a mistake, Ctrl Z, and apply this to areas that actually needs the light effect, right? Just like I'm doing here. So when you feel that you've applied it to the right areas, of course reduce the flow and apply it to the hair region, because of course we need some greenery inside of the image itself. So go ahead and apply some green where it needs to be so that we have a nice blend, right? So I'm actually doing this with my mouse, so you can actually make compositions very good using your mouse. So you don't have a Wacom tablet, it's not an excuse. You can use your mouse. It also works best in as much as you know what you're doing, right? Okay, so the next thing I want to do is of course, to continue where I stopped from, I'm going to select this layer, create a brightness and contrast adjustment layer, right? But I'm going to clip it also to that, so it's affecting just the image. So increase the brightness like this, and you can see it's affecting the whole image. So invert this mask, Ctrl I, and immediately you do that, go back to your brush. My flow is set to 5, so I'll just bring it back to 100, and I'm just going to concentrate on the tips alone. That area needs to be brighter than the rest, so I'm just going to come here and apply the effect here. Also on this part also, I'm just going to apply the effect. You see how much difference that has made to this image itself. So on this part here, make it lighter, and yeah, there you go. Great, right? So go to filter, select the image, go to filter, and click on tilt shift, right? So on tilt shift, make sure this is placed at this point here, and also you can move this downwards. Make sure you are blowing just the top and the bottom of the image, right? And you can also play with, move this downwards just a bit, right? Not too much, right? You can also play with the blur value on the right hand side here where you have it. So my blur is set to 15. Make sure yours is also set to 15 so you don't overdo things, and also use my settings that are being used here. If you followed my previous video on where I use this, you will still have the same settings, right? So when you're convinced on the position you have the blur and the amount of blur, feel free to press OK. Okay, so as you can see clearly, I've added that effect to the image, but then I want to apply the same effect to this lady here. So what you can just do is that's the blur gallery and the camera raw filter, right? So what you can just do is just hold down your Alt key and drag this and place on the image of the lady, and give Photoshop time to do what it knows how to do best, and you can see that it has applied the effects. That's the camera raw filter, and of course the blur gallery that I applied to this image. You can see it has applied it to the lady here. So this is actually a fast way to get over things when you are, and of course if you don't want the camera raw effect, you can come hide it there. So let's get on with the lady. So create clipping mask with this new layer, right? So the first thing I want to do is add those highlights, which is the lights. So of course this is still my foreground color. I'm just going over to my flow, and I'm just going to go gradually here, set the blend mode to screen, you can see, nice. And I'm just going to come on these areas like this and apply some green lights to it. You can see how sweet this is. All right, apply some green lights to it, and apply some green lights to it. Right, so the next thing you want to do is go to brightness and contrast, just like I did for the image. That's the image of the guy. So what I want to do here is also simple. So I'm just going to clip it to this layer. So create clipping mask, that's what I'm going to select, right? Create clipping mask. So I'm just going to bump up the brightness, not too much, but just but you can see that it's applying the brightness to all the image, the entire image. We don't want that, so I'm going to invert this, Ctrl I, and I'm just going to go over to my brush and apply that brightness to only the regions I want, which is the region where I have those lighting effects. You can see how it creates a kind of like angelic feeling to this image. right? So I'm just going to, I can reduce my brush size and apply the brightness to these areas that are already bright, right? Make it more brighter. Yeah, we need more lights. Bright. Great. You can see how nice this has been so far. Okay, so away from that, let's move on. So the next thing you want to add to this composition is okay, make sure you're on the topmost layer and create a new layer here. Go over to your resource file and bring in this party balloon, right? So click and drag and drop inside here like this, and I'm just going to place it nicely here, right? And click enter. What I want to do with this is simple. Go over to blur and click on Gaussian blur and apply some blur to this, right? When you're done, click on OK, right? So what you want to do with this is of course I'll make another copy of this, so Ctrl J, right? So Ctrl J, but before then let me press Ctrl M on your keyboard, that's for curve, and I'm just going to bring this down slightly to add some contrast to it, right? So bringing this down, I'm adding contrast to it, but it's curved, but then that's what it's doing actually, right? So make a duplicate copy of this, right? Ctrl J, and good. So I'm just going to press Ctrl T while I drag this, and I'm just going to position this. Let me flip this, flip horizontal, but I'm just going to position this somewhere else, and that's here, right? Click enter, and what I want to do with this is increase the blur value, right? So first the curve also, so move this aside and bring this down, click OK, right? And go over to motion blur. I think this is just nice like this. I'm just going to leave this way, and I'm just going over to my next resource file. Of course, there's always extra room to light things up, so I'm going to bring this inside and I'm going to flip this, right? So but before I do that, I want to follow the shape of that white stuff. So right click and click on warp like this, and bring this down here. Of course, take this up and position this well here, right? Position this very well, position this very well. Of course, when you do that, I'm just going to change the blend mode. Just basically seeing what would actually work at this point. Most times when I'm designing, I do a whole lot of trial and errors with blend modes, right? And to see what works, and of course what would actually suit my designs, right? So especially when you're doing with blend modes and applying lighting to your image, so give yourself time to master all of these things, and no one is perfect at it, but with continuous practice you get better. So with this, I'm just going to leave it at overlay, but I'm just going to reduce your opacity like this, and voila. But I'm not going to leave this here. I'm just going to mask it out first before I remove it from this part. I'm just going to remove this hard part here like this. Select the brush tool. I'm just going to increase this way, right? So get rid of this part here. So I'm going to move all these parts here. Great. So with this done, I'm just going to, yeah, overlay still works best for me. Now screen is not there and lighting is not there. Vivid lights isn't there. Okay, let's take this back to overlay. But what I want to do with this is I'm going to drag it all the way down so it's behind the images. You can see now it's behind the image. But please do well to arrange your layers, please, so that you don't confuse things when you are designing, right? So with this, I'm just going to increase the opacity back since I have it behind the images, and there you go, right? Nicely done. Okay, so a quick one. I just spotted something along inside of design. So this part of this guy, I need to add some light effect to this part here. So I'm just going to go up, create a new layer, right click, and create clipping mask, right? Let me release it and do it again. Right click and create clipping mask like this. Just select this, right? Create clipping mask. So everything you're doing is going to be affecting just this image alone, right? With my foreground still the same color it is, I'm just going to go over to my brush. What I'm just going to do is reduce the size of the brush, and I'm just going to add some of that color here, and I'm going to change the blend mode to screen. Screen overlay, linear dodges out of it. Okay, I guess for this composition it's just going to be screen and overlays all the way. So I'm just going to use that to add some light effects to this part here, and also yeah, and also let's see, great, to this hair region also. Make sure you're not doing too much. That's a mistake. Reduce the opacity like this, and that sums it up. Yes, great. So yeah, so with this text I'm just going to shift it up just a bit so it has breathing space. Great. Okay, so right about now, let's finish things up and balance this image. So I'm going to make a snapshot of this entire image by pressing Ctrl Shift Alt and E, right? Then I'm going to right click and select Convert to Smart Objects. Ctrl Shift Alt E to make a snapshot of this image. Ctrl Shift Alt and E. Right, so when you do this, what you want to do is go over to color balance, right, adjustment, and in the midtones, let's go over to greens. Let's add some greens. Then the shadows, no, we're not going to add greens to the shadows. We're going to add magenta instead. So I'm going to shift to that region, but not too much, just a bit. Then add a little bit of the blues. Then for the highlights, of course, I'm just going to go all the way to the greens, right? Now this part is also very, very important, right? So as it is now, it's better than the way it was before, but let's do a little more. So what you can do now is you can see that the level of contrast in this image is not there yet, right? Now most times how I achieve this is very, very simple. Go over to adjustment and click on what? Curves, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this one down like this, and when I do that, you see what happens. So click on this point and you want to drag just a little bit, not too much, like this. You can see that I have shadows where I need shadows to be and everything, right? So what I'm going to do with this is I'm not going to be doing too much, so I'm just going to take it up just a bit. I like the level of shadows I have here, but I'm just going to click here, Ctrl I to invert it, and I'm going to manually put those shadows where they are supposed to be. Invert it, make sure you're working on white. Click on the brush, and what you want to do is, you can see, painting in the shadows where I want them to be by myself. Emphasis on by myself. So it's a DIY stuff, you can actually do it yourself, and put in those shadows where they are supposed to be by yourself, right? Apply some shadows here. Even this part here, you can see the huge difference this is actually making, right? The hair region, all of these parts, add some shadows. Make sure you are doing this strategically, right? This is before and this is after, right? Add some shadows here. Come on, apply some shadows, don't be shy, right? And so this is before the shadow and this is after. So you can reduce this if it's too much. That's the best thing about Photoshop. So if your adjustment you added is too much, you can reduce it, or you can change the blend mode just to fit what you want. Right, great. So we have all this in place, guys. So this is how I was able to come up with this flyer inside of Photoshop. Right, if you've liked my video, please do not watch my video without giving it a thumbs up. Right, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed at this point in time. I love you all, guys. Till when we'll meet again in the next video. Stay blessed and happy new month.